Hey everyone, it's Brett with WinWinVideos, and today I'm going to give you 5 lessons that I learned on my first shoot with WinWinVideos, so stay tuned right after this. Thanks for joining us. As you know, we've started giving some tips and tricks for videographers. Maybe you're actually one of our videographers for WinWinVideos, and this is definitely for you. Or if you're just a beginner videographer, or maybe you're a seasoned videographer, hopefully there's some things in here that you can grab hold of and be like, oh yeah, definitely. And don't forget to leave a comment or subscribe. Give us some feedback. We would love to hear from you. So I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. I'm from the Portland area of Oregon, and I flew down to San Francisco to go to a Honda dealership to shoot a testimonial video for them. I actually shot 5 videos altogether, and it was a great experience, lots of fun. I've never been to San Fran before, so I really enjoyed it. But I definitely learned some things for it being my first shoot with WinWin. I've done a lot of video over the last several years, but this is my first time with, you know, a new company, and I've been with them for a while now. But just kind of reflecting and looking back at my first video, there's a lot of things I'm like, I should have known that, or I should have done that a little bit differently. And so it helps you, you know, whether you're a beginner, whether you're a seasoned veteran when it comes to videography. We're always learning. We're always understanding how to do what we do. And so hopefully these 5 things will help you out. So let's jump right into it. Number 1, first and foremost, is walk in confidently. So what I mean is when you're going to meet with an owner, a GM, you know, whoever it is, or whether you're shooting a wedding, anything corporate, be confident in who you are and what you're doing as a videographer. I think that's really important. So for me, I admit, it was my first shoot and I was kind of nervous. You know, I didn't know exactly what to expect. I had watched tons of videos where it came to WinWin, so I had an idea of what to look for and what to shoot, but I still was a little bit nervous. And so I think that sometimes what happens is when we don't have confidence and we feel anxiety and stress, people can see that. If they see that we're stressed, they might be stressed on camera, and we don't want that. So there's a lot of things that kind of flood through your mind when you're going to a shoot like this. You know, for one, it could be, what if my SD card fails? What if my batteries aren't fully charged? I thought I charged them, but I'm gonna get there and nothing is charged. You know, you're stressed about lighting, about finding the right shot, you know, etc. There's so many things that we can be nervous about, but you still gotta go in and act like you've done this a million times to set everyone in a place where they feel comfortable. So even with my travel, you know, going down to San Francisco, I checked and double checked everything. In fact, I'll leave a link in the description for you to look at a checklist, a videography checklist, so that you can go down the list and be like, okay, I got my camera, I got my lights, I've charged all my batteries, my SD card is formatted, and it just kind of gives you some ease when you're walking in, knowing that you have all the gear that you possibly can need, and maybe even then some. Sometimes I take extra just in case. The other thing with SD cards is I'm shooting with a Lumix GH5, and it's a dual SD card slot. That gives me some ease knowing that if one of the cards fails, it's backed up on another one. So maybe that's something for you to consider if you want to, you know, do this professionally and you don't want any mistakes. Maybe get a camera that has the dual card slots. But again, confidence is really important as a videographer. You want everyone to feel comfortable. Okay, number 2, take your time. When you're looking for the perfect shot and you're looking for the best lighting and little noise so that you don't have a ton when you're getting audio, make sure that you walk around the entire place. You know, again, it depends where you're shooting. It could be at a restaurant, it could be at a dealership like myself, but make sure that you're getting the right shot. I went in, and this was one of my mistakes, is I was nervous to waste people's time. I was nervous to waste the owner's time, the GM's time, and so I wanted to come in and just like knock these things out so that they can go about their business, because they are busy. You know, they have so many things that they have to do. They have customers coming in and employees that have questions and need answers. And so as a videographer, you're like, shoot, I need to do this quickly so that I can get them on their way. And I just want to say that it's okay to go through the process and make sure that you have everything in line. So for instance, let's jump to my screen real quick, and you're gonna see a video that I did for PureCars is our client, and San Leandro Honda is a client of PureCars, so they picked up the tab, and that's why we call it the win-win model. We love it. But as you can see here, I'm just gonna pause it. This is a shot I did of the GM, and looking back, I'm like, man, I wish I would have got a better shot. It's not bad, but I just wish it would have been better. In fact, when you think about this, especially for you videographers that are a part of the WinWin videography team, it's important that GMs or owners should not be behind a desk. I'm behind a desk right now, it's a little bit different, but the owner should be with the employees, with the workers. They should be out maybe in the service department, maybe in the sales department with people in the background, because it kind of shows that they're a part of what's going on with their team. In this case, I was with the GM in his office. He suggested it, and I should have been like, you know, let's go out with the people. Let's go out with those who are actually working in the background. But instead, he was sitting behind his desk, and it just kind of gives this feeling of he's not approachable, and you don't really want that. So I wish I would have taken a little bit more time. Even in some of the B-roll shots, you know, I'm filming this lady who's behind the desk, and I wish that I would have just taken a little bit more time. Sometimes you feel intrusive, like I shouldn't be in this office with this person, but I think it's important. You got to get the shot. And so they understand. I mean, they get it. Maybe they don't want to be on camera, but you're doing your job and you want to do it well. So again, take your time in everything that you do to make sure you get what you came to get. Number 3 of the mistake that I made when filming this video is that I didn't make sure that everyone was wearing the appropriate protection. So what I mean by that, this is not the case for every shoot that you're going to do, but for me being a dealership, every time I was in the service department and I was taking some B-roll of some of the employees who were underneath the cars, or they're spraying with a paint gun or something like that, they had to wear protection. They had to wear eye protection and gloves, because they can get in a ton of trouble. If anyone, you know, from OSHA or whatever saw the video and they said, wait a minute, they're not wearing protection, they could get a big hefty fine. And you might say, well, that's not our fault as videographers. It should be the owner, it should be the managers of that business. And I would say, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you're the one behind the camera and you're the one that's going to notice. And so it's important for you to keep your eye on things like that. For me personally, I was, as you can see, I'm filming some guys underneath the car. This shot looks really nice, but other ones I had to scrap because they weren't wearing glasses underneath the vehicles, and so I couldn't use it. I had to delete it, and I was really sad because they were actually pretty nice shots. So make sure that even the small details are covered when it comes to that kind of thing. Number 4 is shooting B-roll in 60 or even 120 FPS. So this was a small mistake that I made, because for the most part, all of my B-roll was in 60 FPS. But some of it was 30, because I would, in the middle of the day, I would shoot an interview in 30, and then I came back and I forgot to switch it back to 60 until I noticed, and I was like, oh man, I need to, you know, put it in 60 so that you get a smoother look to your footage. So you can see some of the B-roll that I have here. You might even notice, not everyone can, but you may be able to notice that some of it's a little bit faster. Some of it's not as smooth as maybe I wanted it to be. Here's an example of a shot that I felt like was pretty slow. And it worked. And then here's a shot that I felt like was a little bit quicker, that I wish I could have slowed down just a little bit more. And yes, there are plugins and things that you can get to kind of help slow it down and keep the quality, but it's just another step. So you might as well just shoot it the right way the first time. So if you're doing interviews, a lot of times 24 FPS or 30, You know, 30 is more like your TV, your interview type of a look. 24 is that cinematic, has a little bit of a blur to it that a lot of people use. I think either one is good for interview style. I chose 30, and then I do 60 for B-roll. If you can do 120, sometimes that's even better. Moving on to the last one, number 5, don't be afraid to coach people when you're doing the interview. So again, I kind of made the mistake on here. We can see some footage. You know, they did a great job. If you're watching, you're from San Leandro Honda. I had a blast. You did a great job filming this. For a lot of people, they're not used to being behind the camera, and it can be awkward. They say a lot of ums, you know, and they trip on their words, and they don't say things perfectly. Some words you're like, what did you actually say? And for me, it goes back to number 2, you know, take your time. But I kind of was like, man, I need to get through this. And so there are some things that I'm like, oh, I'll just let that one slide. But then I was watching back through the footage and I'm like, I shouldn't have let it slide because now I can't use it. It's unusable. And so you don't want that to happen while you're shooting. So it's important to coach them. I'll give you an example. One of the questions that we ask when we go to dealerships is we say, hey, what sets your dealership apart from other dealerships? Like, why do people want to go to you and maybe not others? And then I'll tell them, okay, when you answer this question, use the question in the answer. So for instance, they would say, what separates our dealership from others is, or are, or whatever, and then they go into the answer. And so because you're not gonna hear my voice as the interviewee, you're only gonna hear the interviewee. And so they need to make sure that the audience, those who are watching the video, knows exactly what they're doing. And then don't be afraid to ask people to repeat. Like maybe they had a really great answer, but it was a little bit long. There were some pauses. Sometimes you can cut that out, but I think it's okay to just say, hey, would you mind saying that one more time? It was great how you did it, but just do it one more time for us so that we make sure we get the most concise and clear answer for the video. And usually they're happy to do it. I know it seems like they're ready to, like, I'm done with the camera, but for the most part, they're happy to do it. They feel more comfortable as you're comfortable as well. So those are my 5 lessons that I learned from my first video with WinWinVideos, and I hope this helped you. I hope it's something that you can look back and be like, oh man, I can change that. I can do a little bit better with that. We are all about growing, so I hope that this video helped you grow. Push the like button, subscribe to our channel, and we'll give you more tips in the future. Thanks.